Hey, what's up, guys? It's B-Dog. Today I'm coming at you with another episode of my podcast of Movie Expertise Needed. Today I'm with frequent flyers of the show, Christian and Cody.
Hello.
Okay, yeah. And so today we're going to be talking about The Thing, 1980-something, with the ever fabulous Kurt Russell, that I did not say that word correctly. But,
God bless.
okay. First, I got some channel announcements. Actually, only one. I'm not gonna have a M.E.N episode next week. I will have. I'm gonna have a video out on that day. It'll be like a channel update or something like that. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna say in it, but I'm figuring some stuff out about my channel, so it'll be in that. But other than that, I got nothing new. I'm gonna have a classics video coming out this Saturday, and then the week after that, I think I'm going to have my next classic. I can't remember the dates. I'll let you know in my update what's coming up next. But I got to figure out when I'm going to put out my Oscars prediction. So that'll be the week before the Oscars happen. Anyways, let's get into The Thing. I really like this movie. I'm just going to start with my general thoughts, and then we'll all go around and then get into spoilers. So I thought this movie was pretty good. It's a really well done action movie. It's gritty, and it's a little bit funny, especially the beginning scene, which we'll talk about later on. And it's well developed, and the thing is, you can tell the special effects are dated, but the monster looks crazy, and it really looks scary, and that's part of what makes the movie. And then Kurt Russell's performance and all the other guys, and these guys are kind of going insane, and it just builds up to this final scene, and it to me it's such a well done movie. Cody?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. The practical effects in that movie were pretty amazing, especially for that time. I don't think there was any. I want to say CGI. I don't think they had CGI back then.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, it was pretty much all practical effects. It was kind of with that one movie that we covered, The Void. There was a bunch of, not a lot of, but there was a good amount of mystery surrounding the movie, especially towards the very end. And that's kind of what I like about the movie too.
Okay, Christian?
But yeah, this is probably my favorite movie of all time.
Wow.
The special. Well, it's just one of those movies. I was sitting in Cody's car and talking to him about this the other day, and I was like, for some reason, every once in a while, I'll just constantly watch this movie, and he was like, "Oh, it's probably your favorite movie," and I was like, you're probably right. But anyways, I just remember when I was a young man, when I was a kid, probably 8 or 9, my mom showed me this movie, and I just remember I was like, okay, that's really cool. And then as I got older, I watched it more, and I picked up on things, and I began to appreciate it more, other than just seeing like gore and just like really cool stuff happen. All the ambiguity in this movie is very good. That's probably one of my favorite things about it, is it gives you enough to be like, okay, this is really badass and cool, but then it also keeps like the rest a secret, so then you can kind of either think what you want, or just really good filmmaking, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
but
I was getting that. I think I got that. Okay, so straw pull here. Cody, do you have a favorite movie?
I don't believe so. It's more of like I generally like these movies, and I generally dislike these movies. I don't really have any movies that I really love or really hate.
Okay, that ruins what I was about to say, because Christian and I's favorite movies are both horror movies. So I was going to call them aficionados, but since you said that, you ruined it. Thanks, Cody.
Genre. I do have a favorite genre, and it is horror, so
okay, that
Fair
works.
Enough,
that balances
I'll
out.
take it.
Yeah, so we can use that.
Okay, anyways, that's our general thoughts. We're going to go into spoilers now. Yeah, so spoiler alert. Okay, he's playing a game of chess, and the computer is about to beat him, I think, or beats him, so he pours whiskey on it. Christian, you were talking to me about it before. Why don't you explain what you said to me?
So at the beginning of the movie, like you said, he's playing chess with the computer, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna win." Well, he doesn't say that, but he's gonna win. And then the computer pulls a 360 on him, and then just beats him. And then he pours Jim Beam into the computer, and he walks away, and he's all angry. And throughout the movie, you could compare. It is a very like, in sense, a strategic type of like game being played, because you got to figure out who the thing is, and then the thing's got an agenda, and everybody's got an agenda in this movie, staying alive, trying to figure out who the thing is, what they should do next, if they should leave, if they should stay. And at the end of the movie, it comes down to Kurt Russell, which is McCready, and Keith David, which is Childs. And that's one of the most debated things movie-wise, is who's the thing at the end of that movie, or more so comes down to, is Childs the thing at the end of the movie? And I think the directors, I think John Carpenter likes to like contradict himself. I think he said somewhere on Reddit like 3 or 4 years ago, "Oh, it's obvious that Childs is a thing," but then like an interview like 1 or 2 years ago, he says it's up to the viewer, or he said like Childs is not the thing. And then Keith David even said he thought he wasn't the thing. But anyways, the whole point of it is it comes down to the two of them. So the two final chess pieces, or however I don't know how chess works, but it comes down to just the two of them. And then McCready, he hands him the bottle. And it was presumed that the bottle was used for Molotov cocktails, because he had like 6 of them strapped to him earlier in the movie. And McCready himself was about to take a drink before Childs came up. And I'm pretty sure he was going to do that because he probably didn't want to freeze to death, so he was just going to kill himself that way. Which I guess makes sense. Freezing to death probably isn't a good way to die.
Yeah,
so
probably not.
So he handed him that bottle, and then Childs takes a drink. And obviously, if it's gasoline, if you were to take a drink of it, if you were a human or a sensible person, you'd probably like throw up or be like, "Oh, like, hey man, why'd you give me alcohol?" But the child smiles, and then he drinks it like there's no problem with it. And then McCready smiles, and then it's kind of like saying that McCready, he lost again, because if Childs is indeed the thing, there's nothing McCready can do about it, and McCready's going to freeze to death, and then Childs will just go, the thing will just go into like hibernation again until rescue gets there. So it's kind of saying he lost again, but this time he didn't get all pissy about it because he tried his absolute best.
Heard that theory before. Yeah, about the whiskey actually being gasoline.
Mm-hmm. And there's a whole bunch of other theories about that, but we can get to that at the end if you want, or we can do it right now.
Right.
Okay, so the dog gets to the camp after the two Norwegians try to kill it, and then they kill the Norwegians, and the helicopter blows up. And there's a scene right before the dog kennel scene, which is that's what that's called, where you see the dog, and at this point, you would know something's up with the dog, but I mean, if not, then this scene would like kick in right after the dog kennel scene. But this is just another part of the mystery of the movie is, so the dog walks into a doorway, and you can see the shadow of a man, but you don't know who it is. And then the man like signals for the dog to come in, so I guess he can pet it or something. So you can automatically imply, okay, that person probably got infected by the thing, or he had the thing assimilated him. And anyways, so then after that, one of the people, I forget who it is, he complains. He's like, "Oh, you need to go put this damn dog away." And the guy who's the owner of the kennel, I think his name's Clark. He's a guy who looks like a lumberjack. Oh, excuse me. So then he goes and puts the dog away. And then I think like a couple minutes later, he goes back to check up on it. Then he sees the dog thing assimilate all the dogs. And he's like, "Okay, what the hell is this?" So then he calls the rest of the fellas to come help him kill it or see what's going on. And then they kill it.
Okay.
Not before a part of it escapes into the ceiling, right?
Well, I don't think any of it escapes into the ceiling. I think like it tries to get into it latches into the ceiling, and then Childs comes in with a flamethrower at the last second and then torches it.
Yeah, I remember that part. And then there's after that there's a whole bunch of they kind of start playing the blame game. about who is actually the Thing, and then a bunch of people go crazy. Okay, so do you remember what happens exactly after that?
I think exactly after that.
Or if you don't, just the next main scene.
No, I do remember. So then, Blair, that's the name of the main doctor, or the doctor. Or no, he's a doctor slash scientist. Or I think he's more of a scientist. He's doing an autopsy on it, and then that's where you figure out what it can do. He's like, oh, it looks like he was trying to replicate these dogs, and then he like told them, they were all telling each other different things about it, and he was like, okay, well, we got to keep a close eye on each other and stuff like that. And then at this point, you would assume that one or two people are already infected, and then right after that, that's where that I think it's not directly after that, but that's the next big scene that you're talking about. They're dealing. I think they already figure out who another person is, who the Thing is, because they're getting ready. Well, if you remember from the beginning of the film, when they go to the Norwegian camp, they see another burned thing outside of the camp.
Yeah.
And they take it back with them, but it was still alive. Like it was like
dead.
Yeah,
after a little while, it moved a bit.
Yeah,
and it actually took over. Name was I think he had glasses and he might have been bald.
I think that's his name was Windows. I forget though. I'm always bad with names in this movie, except for like
him over.
Yeah, except for like 3 people. But so then Blair sitting at his computer, that's the scientist, and then he's like running a simulation of the Thing and like what it does to cells, and makes an exact copy of the cells and and then it was talking about how like you can't get out of the camp or whatever, and then he goes and he destroys all of the equipment. He destroys all the comms so nobody can call for help, because then if a helicopter gets there, nobody knows who the Thing is, and the Thing will get on the helicopter and go back to civilization. And then he takes integral parts out of the helicopter and the snow plows or whatever they're called. I think they're called snowcats. I forget though. But that comes into play later in the movie. Yeah, I think that's like the next major scene after that. I forget if it's right before that or right after that. When somebody gets infected or somebody gets assimilated by the Thing, or it was somebody who was already assimilated, and then it runs outside, and then its arm is all messed up, and then they push all the kerosene barrels onto it.
That was Windows, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I think that was
his name.
That was the bald guy. I'm pretty sure that was the bald guy who died before Glasses guy.
I was talking about the same person. I'm talking about the guy the one that got infected by the burnt corpse of the Thing. That's the bald guy with glasses.
Okay, yeah, that was the bald guy.
Remember, he ran out, and then they caught up to him, and he had the crazy hands, and then they burned him.
I was thinking of the guy who looks like somebody off that '70s show, but I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. He has like curly hair, and he also had glasses, but he had sunglasses. But anyways,
I don't know.
I forget his name.
Is pulled up, but
yeah, I forget his name, but. Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, that's right before Blair destroys all of the equipment.
Now that you think about it, there can also be another reason why he destroyed the comm equipment. If he truly was the Thing, he would have also been incentivized to destroy the comm. So then they can't tell anyone not to go there. Just don't come over here. There's something going down. This is what's going down.
Yeah, and then that also plays in. Yeah, that's actually right too, because it's very unclear when Blair gets infected, but it's implied it's very early on, because he takes the the helicopter parts and the snowcat parts, he uses that to build the spacecraft later on. So it could have been he took that out while he was still human. And then when he became a Thing, he was like, oh, I can use these now, or he was already the Thing. And then he wanted to use them all along to build it. And he was just acting like really well as a Thing. The next major scene? That's the next major scene, but something goes on before that.
One, then. Sure.
Okay, you just want to talk about that? Okay.
Yeah.
So then, and they're going around outside. Okay, I remember what happens. So one of the other scientists, he runs outside, and then he sees McCready's like trousers in the snow. And it's also said in the movie that when the thing takes you, that it rips through your clothing because it has to assimilate like your entire body. So, but it won't assimilate your clothing, of course. So it's gonna rip through your clothing. So then they saw his trousers out there. So they were like, "Oh, okay, McCready, he must be a thing." And then, but like while he's out there or something, I guess he tries to defend himself, and then he burns himself alive. But then somebody else finds McCready's trousers, and they bring it back inside. And they're like, "Oh, McCready's a thing." And McCready comes back inside, and he has like 6 sticks of dynamite. And he's like, "Oh, if you touch me, this entire base goes." And then right after that, that's when they do the blood test scene. So then,
yeah.
So then the blood test scene is, since every single cell in the thing's body is like sentient, and it all has the same like will to survive. They infer that, well, if you burn some of the blood, since the blood is the part of the thing, then it's going to want to survive. So then they take blood from everybody, and then they do the blood testing. I forget exactly who's infected.
Palmer.
But
was his name.
Palmer, okay. So then they do that, and then I think somebody else dies during that scene. I think it's the guy who looks like the guy from that 70s show.
He infects Windows. Now I'm just looking at the plot.
It was the guy who was afraid.
Yeah, that was the curly hair dude.
Windows, yeah.
Yeah, so then he infects him, and he like rips his head off or something like that. He like ragdolls him and then throws him at the ceiling, and then they torch him and throw him outside. But I forgot to mention the scene right before that, which is also an extremely infamous scene. It's a scene where they're going to use the shock paddles on the guy, and then his stomach opens up, and then chops his hands off.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to mention that. So then one of the other characters, I think his name was Norris, he gets infected, and then he collapses over because he has like a heart condition, and then he's done for. And they're like, "Oh, we need to bring him back." So then they put him on the table, and they start using the shock paddles or the defibrillator, and then they use it on him, and then his stomach opens up, and then it eats his arms, and then that's the scene where his head detaches from his body, and crawls on the right way. Which I still think, so this movie has special effects. I still think that looks not too bad for today's standards. Like, I think that's probably like one of the only things out of that movie where like I still think it holds up. Not necessarily compared to CGI today, but it still looks good in my opinion. Like the head getting off the body and then crawling away.
Yeah.
Anyways, so then and then right after that's the blood scene.
Okay,
what were we gonna say?
After the blood scene is they go to test Blair, which
Christian, is there any theory on how McCready's like a part of his clothes got out in the snow? Is there any theories on that?
What the general assumption is McCready's shack is like located away from everybody else. It's over that little tower. So then what the general thing is, like whoever the thing was just went into his shack and then just took some of his clothing and then ripped it up and left it out in the snow. And then when the dude burned himself, whoever the thing was, since it was still alive, took the trousers and went up to McCready's shack and just put him back in there in like the stove or something, because they said they found him and stuffed away somewhere. So then it's just assumed that thing did it.
Okay, to kind of draw everyone or make everyone suspect each other and kind of.
But yeah, because McCready at that point, he was the one who was like, "Oh, I'll take the gun and I'll be the leader," or whatever. So then it was like one to make everybody think that their leader was, not trustworthy.
After the blood scene, they go to Flying Blair. They find he's missing, and then
yeah, that's right.
I believe that's when they also find the spaceship underneath the
underneath
the hut
the,
too.
They find the spaceship. Thing intends to return to hibernation until rescue teams arrive. That's what they figure out. And then McCready, Gary, and Niles decide to they're going to detonate the station to kill it.
Yeah.
But then Blair kills Gary, and then Niles disappears somewhere. And the child's They couldn't find Childs when they went to go find Blair. They came
Yeah, he
back and they couldn't
disappeared.
find Child. He disappeared. Um, and then so yeah. Then Blair he turns into the enormous creature, and he. I don't. Do you remember this part? Do you? I'm reading
Uh,
off a freaking thing.
yeah,
So
so they're down in one of the like underground parts, and that's where McCready and then I forget the name of the two other people. You say it was Gary and Nelson.
not Nauls.
Knowles, okay. So it was uh, Gary and Knowles. They're McCready told him to go put dynamite around the base, and then Blair kills one of them, and then I think Knowles, he's a black dude. He hears a noise and he's just like, oh, what's that? And he just like walks away. I don't know why he does that, but he like hears a noise and he just walks away into the darkness. So it's like, okay, that was pretty dumb, but yeah. So then they put all not the C4, the dynamite up, and McCready notices that they're missing. So then he gets over to the detonator and he tries to blow it up, and then the Blair thing comes up out of the ground, and then he has to like he runs away from it a little bit, and then he throws a piece of dynamite at it, blows it up, and then he goes outside, and that's where Childs pops up.
Yep. What we just.
Where
we
was
talked about at the
Childs?
When Childs comes back, he says that he thought he saw Blair outside, and he went to go chase him, and then he just comes out of nowhere. Which I still don't know where he would have been, because technically the entire base would have been destroyed at that point unless he was outside when the detonation happened. So yeah, they're laying in the. Oh, what were we gonna say?
It was. I thought he was one of the people underground
Mm-mm.
who walked off.
No, that was the
darkness.
other black guy, Knowles. Childs was all Childs left earlier on than that. Yeah, he wandered off into the snow. Yeah, that's where the infamous scene happens where they're both laying in the snow. And then McCready's. Yeah. Yeah, well, I do know quite a bit about it. Yeah, Cody, you want to say something?
I'll cover a little bit of the ending. I know. So what Christian told me was that what's been revealed is that when someone's infected with a thing, their eyes don't reflect any light. You know how like when you shine light in someone's eyes, or like at a certain, or if you've ever seen like a painting of an eye, there's always that gleam, that little reflection of light on him. But when someone is the thing, they don't have that glare. At the end of the movie, when you look at Child's eyes, you can't see that glare, or at least not really. And on top of that, there's the Molotov thing where I double checked to make sure that Molotov cocktails are made out of gasoline. They are. Well, not only gasoline, but it's part of it.
Made out of stuff that you shouldn't drink.
Without at least going, ugh. So, and then the third thing is that when someone's the thing and they exhale in the cold air, you don't see their breath.
Well, I forget when they're outside and they burn the one dude with the kerosene tanks. Do you see his breath? Because he screams really loud. I forget if you see his breath or not. Yeah, I don't remember either. But part of the reason, well, that's why I was hesitant when we were all watching it to talk about the eye gleam thing, because I think when it was like when the 4K Blu-ray came out last year, the director of the cinematography, it was like on the commentary for the movie. But when he was referring to it, he was referring to with the blood test scene. So I don't know if it holds up to the rest of the movie, because there are just times where I forget to look at people's eyes, and even after watching it so many times, sometimes I even forget who's the thing, because I try not to. I like to still keep it a mystery to myself. But I know he was referring to the blood test scene specifically, and he might have also been implying it to where whenever a thing is about to be like directly revealed, whenever it's about to transform, like if you look at that person's eyes, like right before they transform, apparently you won't see the glimmer. So that's why,
it makes sense if it applied to every other instance too.
Yeah, it would make sense, but I just remember he was talking about like that scene in particular on the commentary. So that's just like if somebody watches the movie and they're like, "Oh, I saw a gleam in everybody's eyes," and I was like, "Well, sorry," but that was that's just what was stated. So yeah, I'm trying to. I was gonna say that the eye gleam thing, and then Child's when you can't really see him breathing near the fire. And there are also some other interesting things like with the there is a direct sequel to the Thing movie, and it's the video game. John Carpenter said it was canon. So in the video game, I'm not going to summarize the entire video game, just the part that's important. But so then you're playing as Blake, and then it's a part of this little team that's going to investigate. I think it's called Outpost 31. I forget. I think that's what it's called, or the thing takes place. And you get to look through like the destroyed parts of the base where McCready and the others blew it up. And you actually do find Child's frozen body, and he's a human. So apparently in the canon, Child's was a human, but that takes the fun out of it, so I don't count it. So
and Kurt Russell wasn't the Thing either.
Yeah, so neither of them were the Thing. So I don't really count that. And then some other interesting things, like Kurt Russell and Keith David both agree that they were human at the end.
Okay, so
what
that
else?
theory is BS.
Well, it's like they think, they just like to say, well, I think we were human, or I think, like Kurt Russell said, well, it's obvious. So it's not like well, because John Carpenter hasn't like explicitly come out and said this is the truth and this is what happened, besides contradicting himself. So then another neat tidbit is John Carpenter does all the music for all his movies, but he didn't do the music for this one. I forget the name of the man who did the music for this one, but it was like one of his buddies, one of his composer buddies. And then the Hateful Eight, one of the direct inspiration for Hateful Eight was this movie. Was Quentin Tarantino's like?
Wow.
Well, it just because of being locked in a single like room with
fair enough.
With snow outside, and they're trying to guess who's wanting to kill the one woman and what's going on. It's like a game of whodunit, because people start to die. So then he said that was their direct inspiration, and he made everybody on cast for that movie watch The Thing together. And then also, I think this is true. Oh, well, actually, no, they said it was true. They used some of the unused score from The Thing for the Hateful Eight. Some of the music in that movie is actually was going to be used for The Thing, but they never used it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to remember anything else. Yeah, bombed at the box office.
No.
Now it's a cult classic.
Seems like our favorite sci-fi movies have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, they're
Blade Runner.
apparently trash. Yeah, apparently they're trash when they all come out.
Yeah, makes me angry.
It does
Blade
make me
Runner's
angry
the
too.
best.
Yo, I
will
love Blade
fight
Runner.
anybody who says otherwise.
This is the best sci-fi movie?
No, I was just. It was a
like it's
statement. Good. Yes.
You're right. It is good. I agree. It is the best.
Actually,
yes,
you know what?
It's probably one of my top 10. Both of them are probably in my top 10 for best sci-fi.
If I do have a favorite movie, it would be Blade Runner 2049.
It's beautiful. But anyways, what was I gonna say?
Well, that completely ruins it then.
Shoot,
Cody, because now we're not a horror entourage. We're a horror with a.
Well, my favorite genre is still horror.
So what?
Well, you're just gonna have to edit him out saying my favorite movie is Blade Runner 2049,
and then voice over something like Goosebumps, the movie, or something like
that.
or instead of
That's pretty funny. You guys want to end it? I just want to say one thing from the prequel.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I think you might as well say it.
Okay, so actually I was going to say two things. I lied, haha. But I didn't mean to lie, but I just remembered the second thing. So then so if anybody's ever seen the prequel movie is not good. Like besides lending like being authentic to the 82 thing in terms of like the set and stuff like that, it's pretty good. but in like CGI, it's like probably one of the worst AAA like official movie to be released in theaters with like CGI. It's probably some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in a movie. I'm not just saying that. Like
Think
it
about
is
think
bad CGI.
Star Wars prequels worse times 2. At least.
Literally, that's how bad I see it. Like I hate the CGI in that movie. It makes me so angry. But anyways, so one of the cool things about that movie though is at the very end for the end credit scene, it is a Norwegian, since it is a Norwegian base. That the whole thing about the prequel is that's a Norwegian base where the thing first they came into contact with, and that's the Norwegian base that Kurt Russell and the team went to in the 82 thing. So then they did a really good job at upholding the base and making it look exactly like they did in the 82 version. But the interesting tidbit about that is they actually the John Carpenter and the studio had demolished the original set, so they had to use Kurt Russell's height to estimate how they would make the doors and like how they'd make the doorways and stuff.
That's funny, kind of cool.
And then the other
guys.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was just gonna say the last cool thing is the end credit scene. It shows the tour Norwegians get into a helicopter and chase the dog that leads into the thing 82. So that's all I wanted to say.
Have you heard of the kind of like a knockoff movie of the thing called? I think it's called Splinter.
No, I haven't.
No.
It's pretty much exactly like the thing, except when you get infected by it, it's noticeable, and it also leaves like plant-based material too, and it's like pitch black, but it's like really thorny. By it, you can like turn into, basically you get infected by it, and then an animal's infected with it, and like it attacks some guy, and he crawls into a bathroom and locks himself in there.
The tagline is, "It will get under your skin."
Wait, did you look at? You can really tell.
No. It gets under your skin.
Trapped in an isolated gas station by a voracious splinter parasite that transforms its still living victims into deadly hosts, a young couple and an escaped convict must find a way to work together to survive this primal terror.
I think I've seen that movie.
Part of someone's hand gets like broken off or something, and it crawls around and attacks some people.
Oh, the Thing prequel. Hello, happens in the Thing prequel. Wait, hold on. I need
4% of Rotten Tomatoes. People, it has a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I think I actually saw this movie as a child when it was like they showed it on Sci-Fi or something. But
yeah,
I might be wrong.
Sci-Fi.
Because what'd you say? It
does look like something that would be shown on Sci-Fi.
Oh, right. A movie is truly not good if it's shown on Sci-Fi. No, that's all. Sometimes they show good movies.
Splinter is definitely a knockoff of the Thing. 100%. I don't know why I suddenly thought of that, but that's all I need to say.
So I might need to watch that movie. We might need to watch that movie Friday and roast it vigorously.
About one more podcast, and it's making fun of Splinter for being a knockoff.
Oh, there we go. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like 10 minutes.
Well, I think this is a good place to end it. We're about 40 minutes. So yeah, that's going to be it, guys. Thank you both for coming on and talking with me. This will probably be the last time for a while, so shed some man tears for me. But
you heard it out there, viewers. Podcast is canceled officially.
No, it's not.
Not coming back. Canceled.
Ever.
No, it's not.
Canceled.
It's not canceled. I will fight you.
Your loyal leader,
it's
Ben, has canceled the podcast.
Hiatus.
That's what they all say.
No, I'm good. My brother wanted to do Donnie Darko with me, so I'm going to do that at some point. But I have no other podcast planned in the future. I'm gonna have a video out next week explaining what's gonna happen next. Can't tell you what that's gonna be because I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But yeah, that's it for my channel news. Again, thank you for coming, and Well, that's it. Please like or comment what you thought of this video. Comment what you thought of these two people. And comment what you thought of this
Subscribe to
movie.
Pope Homeslice.
Subscribe to Pope Homeslice, yeah. But anyway, subscribe. So that's it. See you guys later.
Adios.
Cody.
Goodbye.
B-Dog. Out.